What is going on, guys? Today we're back to talking about Chrono Odyssey, an upcoming MMORPG by Cacao Games. And we're not just talking about the hype or the speculation, but we're talking about the actual progress that they are making. These devs, the previous 6 months or so, were pretty silent after that CBT1 or closed beta 1 that showed us a lot of promise, but even more issues in an MMO that felt pretty similar to New World. Things though have seemed to actually be ramping up this last month, as the team has dropped some big updates that actually show they are in fact listening to players through their developer articles, and this game may actually be far from the Korean MMORPGs that we usually expect. So real quick recap here, Chrono Odyssey had its first closed beta back in June of 2025, where players got a taste of its brand new world set in a gothic dark fantasy setting. But as with most MMO betas these days, everything was not perfect. There was a lot of bugs, stiff movement animations, and a pretty rough action combat system that had us once again questioning if we were getting our hopes up for a new MMORPG. People were pretty excited, but also very skeptical, as they should be. Overall though, I don't think people were extremely negative about Chrono Odyssey, but they all agree that it does have a long ways to go. Now though, after New World has officially kicked the bucket and announced they will be shutting down their servers for good, people are looking to fill that void, along with a large MMO audience just craving for something good to play. And Chrono Odyssey might be the best chance we get at that in the near future. So what's in this update? The team behind Chrono released their latest developer notes talking about some overhaul details based off player feedback from CBT1, and they are actually acting on it, talking about the changes that were made. And these changes are very promising and are actually kind of getting me excited to jump back into the next beta whenever that may be. These changes cover 4 different categories: controls and responsiveness, combat impact and feedback, consumables, and miscellaneous. With controls and responsiveness, they've done a lot of work around the camera direction, which if you played before, didn't feel great. Previously, movement was tied to the camera direction, so whichever way you moved is the way your camera faced. They have removed this so players can now move in any direction regardless of the camera direction, which will allow for better repositioning while keeping your eyes on your targets. With this, you now attack in the direction your character is facing, when previously this was also locked to your camera. They removed the starting animation for sprinting, so there's no longer a delay in sprinting, and they removed the end roll animation when landing a jump that would prevent you from landing in your intended spot. All around, huge wins when it comes to movement and camera, and it should make combat feel a bit smoother. Speaking of combat, they've added hit reactions to players. Previously, you were basically a wet sponge absorbing all the hits, and it was never really impacting your character. Now hits will visibly shake the character's posture, providing more physical feedback. This will also make you want to time your next moves a bit better, knowing when you should dodge out of the way to prevent from a more staggering effect. When it comes to blocking, they've added what they call guard crush, which basically now consumes stamina per block, and when your stamina hits 0, you will face the crush, leaving you defenseless for a certain amount of time, and being hit from behind or the side will also break your block. They have also reduced the knockback animations and removed crowd control immunity from several monsters and replaced them with conditional systems. For consumables, HP potions no longer function as individual consumable items, but are now a permanent rechargeable system, so you don't need to run back to town every time you run out of health potions. Food now functions as a long-term buff item rather than instant healing, similar to what you would find in New World and a lot of other MMOs. And special potions have been added that provide powerful effects over short duration to be used in critical moments in battle. All very significant, very good combat changes in my opinion that will help it feel so much better than it did in the last beta. As for miscellaneous stuff, dueling now shows a visibility boundary so you know where you have to stand in, along with more intuitive victory and defeat signage. Throwables now have a visible trajectory arc so you know where you're throwing your items, and weapon swapping has been visually enhanced, allowing players to track the changes more easily in combat. Overall, extremely positive changes coming from the Chrono Odyssey devs. Now, we don't know what the current state of the game looks like. We haven't had a beta test in over 6 months. We haven't seen any really new gameplay besides the comparisons they're showing, so we don't know what the actual current state of the game looks like, but this is all very promising and informative information, showing that they are in fact taking that feedback that they claimed they were doing when they delayed the game initially. Chrono Odyssey was targeted for a 2025 release and then got pushed back into 2026 after that beta, because they wanted to act on this feedback, and a lot of people didn't believe that they're going to actually make significant changes, because unfortunately that's what us MMO players are used to. But now they are showing that they are reacting to this feedback, they're making changes, and you as an MMO fan should be excited for that. Still be skeptical until you can actually play the game, because, well, we all know how this goes at this point, but this is a very good sign for the future of Chrono Odyssey. Chrono Odyssey is already starting with a very strong 2026 start, hopefully continuing on this road of actually being able to prove that they know how to make a decent MMO that isn't just filled with empty promises, because it's this meaningful improvement and transparency that actually matters in what most MMO communities want. As I said though, be skeptical, because anything can change. We don't know what's actually behind these articles and what the game actually feels like, but if you want to keep an eye on it, subscribe to this channel. Also keep an eye on the dev notes they've been spitting out. They have a Discord too where they've been doing some Q&As based off those dev notes, and just keep your ears open for future tests, because what we are seeing right now is just the beginning of what could be a great year for people looking for that next MMO.